This body of water is a magnificent body of water. And the issue for us is how do we protect it and restore it? 20 years ago, the Long Island Sound was in really rough shape. I mean, there were dead zones, which means low oxygen or no oxygen, fish kills all over the place. So you'd be out there and there'd be literally schools of dead fish rising to the surface in different harbors and different areas of Long Island Sound. Lobster die-offs, shellfish that were dead. It was rough. And many of us got together in Connecticut and New York and said, this can't go on. We have to do better. We have to do something. But what do we do? What is causing the degradation and the deterioration of Long Island Sound? And we formed the Long Island Sound Study, where the EPA got involved, 2 different states, New York and Connecticut, all of these different environmental groups, towns and counties. And it was nice because everyone came together, which you don't really find a lot in government, for one particular reason, and that was to restore and protect Long Island Sound. And when you have that kind of collaborative effort, then it actually can work. And that is a really good thing. So protecting the sound for some people has become a lifelong endeavor. The goal of this project is to really allow you to understand how it is that we influence nature, how we influence these natural resources, and how we can make an impact in our actions to protect these valuable and treasured natural resources. That's what this program is about. And this is only the 2nd year that we've done it. If any of you have good suggestions for us, we're all ears. But I just want to say really a heartfelt thank you to all of you who participated, especially to your teachers, because they volunteered to participate in this program, and we really, really do appreciate that. It means a lot to us, and it means a lot, I think, for all of us to teach you to be stewards of the earth. And I'm going to turn the microphone over to Rob DiGiovanni, who we know him as the whale expert, because whenever there's a marine mammal that washes up on the shores of the East Coast, whether it's a whale or a seal, even a giant turtle, right? Rob and his team have to go out, assess the situation, and figure out if they can save the animal or not. So sometimes it's pretty tough. It's always pretty tough, I think. But Rob is going to talk to us a little bit today.
I want to thank you all for being here. It's really a great honor and privilege to be here talking in front of you all and seeing the work that you've done. Adrian spoke a little bit about the Long Island Sound Study, and when I first got into marine science, I had a totally different career. I was into racing cars and construction, and that's what I did, and then I went on a whale watch out of Montauk, and I saw a whale, and I thought, wow, this is really cool. I'm going to do this. So I closed my company and started going back to school, and I was older when I went back to school, and the Long Island Sound study was actually starting out, and they were having some meetings. And I said that I was older because we all do this. We all love to hang out with our parents. But I was going to this meeting, and my mom made sure she had to go with me to this meeting. And I was like, oh, this is great. I'm 28 years old, and I'm going to school with my mom. So I'm hanging out there, and so in case you haven't figured out, I'm really cool. But I'm sitting there, and halfway through the summit, she leans over and says, do you understand a word that they're talking about? And I was like, wow, I realize even though we speak our language, we're not communicating to the public. And so it took my whole career to get my mom to understand a lot more about what we do. My family's a whole different story. They're still a little confused about it, but we need to start one person at a time, and that's what you're doing. And so I really commend you for taking that first step. So thank you very much. So the Atlantic Marine Conservation Society, and we wanted to start off with this photo because when I first started in my career 30 years ago, you didn't see this that readily. Even though I saw a whale on my first whale watch, it was a fin whale, which is, once again, all whales are not the same. What we see here is a benefit of seeing a lot of menhaden or bunker returning. So we're seeing a lot of humpback whales that are here, and now we're seeing these animals feeding right offshore. I was speaking with Paige a little bit earlier, and she was talking about whether or not we could see whales here, and the answer is yes, you can. You can see them off the south shore of Long Island. Whale watching used to just occur on the east end of Long Island. Now you're seeing it in New York Harbor. Our colleagues at Gotham Whale and Coastal Research and Education Society go out regularly. We're also seeing whales in Western Long Island Sound, and Adrian pointed out one of the stories, she talks about dolphins, and I was actually at her event and her fundraiser where I was talking to one of the guests and said, hey, did you hear about the dolphins in Long Island Sound? I was like, oh yeah, that's last year. And I don't know if you guys are familiar with this thing called Facebook, but someone said that, no, they just saw someone post information about a dolphin, and that's how we track down that information. And why I want to tell that story is, in my career, I've responded to over 6,000 animals. But it's never been me who's been the one who called the animals in. It's always been you guys. It's always been you that are seeing things first. And we cannot do this without your help. And this is the first step. If you see an animal, say you're out boating this summer and you see turtles swimming around, let us know. We're trying to start a project where we're doing a health assessment on turtles, but we need to know where we're starting to see them more because everything's changing. So if you ever wonder if anybody wants to know about something you see in the wild, hopefully you got that from listening to me talk and Adrian trying to get me off stage, that we do. We definitely want to know. So you call the hotline if you think they're sick, or sightings at amseas.org if you have a sighting. But please, please, please let us know what you're seeing.
So you're all on turtle watch. Okay, are you ready? Now it's your time to speak. The effects of varying wavelengths of light on stress levels for the hermit crab, because even the hermit crabs have stress these days. And we have Jacqueline and Emily.
Hi, I'm Jacqueline.
I'm Emily.
Our experiment was the effect of varying wavelengths and artificial nighttime light on the stress levels in Coenobita marine hermit crabs. Hermit crabs play a very important role in the bottom-dwelling community. They help recycle matter back into the ecosystem, and they process nutrients and recycle them into a fertilizer. Long-wrist hermit crabs are found in the Long Island Sound and have not been studied under the effects of light pollution.
For future solutions, light pollution is not easily solved, and it will take a group effort from people throughout the region. On Long Island, several steps can be taken in order to reduce the light pollution on Long Island Sound. The first solution would be to change certain human activities to reduce light pollution. To change to certain activities, different technologies and lifestyles would be offered through education campaigns and legislation.
Hello, my name is Douglas Anataki. I am from Smithtown High School West, and my presentation is about understanding the toxicity of perfluorooctanoic acid. Perfluoroalkyl substances, otherwise known as PFAs, are a class of compounds. There are 7,000 known PFAs, and many of them function as dioxins, insecticides, and flame retardants, to name a few. PFOA causes many health problems, some of which are developmental issues, reproductive issues, and effects on liver and kidney function. Some cancers are also seen to occur more in people who are in more contact with PFOA. The map on the slide shows where many different PFOA concentrations have been found in drinking water. When you take a look at near Long Island and New York, you see places where PFOA has been recorded in high amounts in drinking water. And this leads to the purpose of my studies on PFOA. The purpose of my studies is to create a better understanding of the effects of PFOA on marine organisms. In order to conduct this research, I used Artemia silena. The question I asked is, when introducing PFOA to unhatched bronze shrimp, does it affect the hatching rates, and what are the changes to Artemia silena when exposed to PFOA?
I'm Darren.
It's Ava.
I'm Ava. Okay. This past school year, Ava and I researched the analysis of marine debris on the Long Island Sound. And, according to the National Ocean Service, marine debris is any man-made material that is intentionally or unintentionally discarded into the marine environment or the Great Lakes. Marine debris is often brought through runoff in sewers and storm drains or is left by beachgoers. Marine debris impacts the health of the Sound and because it pollutes the Sound.
The beach that had the highest number of collected debris was the Sound side of Center Island Beach, and the lowest numbers came from the bay side of that same beach. This figure shows important statistical data regarding the most common marine debris found. The debris collected were sorted under these categories, shown on this side. A majority of the debris identifies plastic, and of the debris Of the plastic debris, the shotgun shells and bottle caps were the most commonly found.
So we did a project in microplastic pollution in Northport, East Northport area. We did, as she said already, Hobart Beach, Steers Beach, Northport Harbor, and Northport Stacks. So the purpose of this project obviously was to detect the microplastics in the Long Island Sound. The microplastics have a huge impact on the marine life and the marine ecosystems. Once the marine life consumes the microplastics, it leads to microplastics in the seafood that we eat. But it also has numerous health effects on the marine life, such as cell damage, damage to the reproductive systems, and lower oxygen intake.
So on our data table, you can see that the Stacks had the largest amount of microplastics and Hobart Beach had the lowest amount of microplastics. And then we also collected the weather data because the temperature and the precipitation can have an effect on the number of microplastics in the water at the time of collecting the sample.
So once we got all of our information, we realized areas with like high foot traffic, like Northport Stacks and Northport Harbor, are like areas predominantly with the most abundant microplastics. Many people launch their boats at the Northport Stacks. As a result, there is a high human impact in this area. There is pollution from motors, different types of litter, fishing supplies, clothing, and other materials containing plastics which get into the water, which causes disruption with the marine life and the marine ecosystems.
Now we have Comac. Okay. The effects of microplastics, the heart and reproductive rates of, they'll tell you.
Hi, I'm Andrew.
I'm Akarsh.
And I'm Aaron. Our project is the effects of microplastics on the heart and reproduction rates of Daphne magna. The purpose of this experiment was to observe how the health of Daphne magna is being affected by microplastics, specifically by measuring the heart rate and reproduction rates.
Solutions: replace, regulate, and restore model. For human activity, microplastics can be generated from a wide variety of sources such as particulate emissions from industrial production and plastics entering through storm drains and through the wear and tear of plastic products. Some ways we can reduce the amount of microplastics is by replacing plastic items with environmentally friendly solutions. Single-use items such as plastic straws, cups, and bags are one of the biggest contributors to microplastic concentration. Examples of solutions to plastics in storm drains include beach cleanup, letter writing campaigns to lead legislation about the need to clean storm drains.
Also in this category, this one has one of my favorite titles, Microplastics. They are what's for dinner. Ava Johnson. Where are you, Ava? Ava is from Smithtown.
I'm Ava Johnson. For my project, I studied the consequences of microplastic on marine organisms in the Long Island Sound. According to the University of Connecticut, researchers have shown that there are about 5 pieces of microplastic per 1,000 liters of Long Island Sound water. What are microplastics? Microplastics are small pieces of plastic less than 5 millimeters in length. They're formed by plastic pollution degraded by currents and waves. For my project, I used Artemia salina or brine shrimp as my model organism. They're passive filter feeders and they consume algae. They have a short life cycle. To help understand where microplastic ends up in marine organisms, I studied the anatomy of brine shrimp. They're composed of a labrum, which holds for feeding, swimming and feeding appendages, and a long gut that spreads throughout the body. For my question, I asked, does microplastic get ingested by brine shrimp, and if it does, where does it end up? When Artemia were first removed, the gut was filled with microplastic. After only 2 days in clean water, no microplastic is seen in the gut. Microplastics are a significant and growing problem in the Long Island Sound. Marine animals are consuming these substances. The amount of microplastic that humans will be ingesting is one of concern due to the process of biomagnification. If brine shrimp are consuming microplastics, then we are too.
The Smithtown Bull goes green. So we have Erica, Jessica, and Bally, and Aiden.
So Smithtown Bull goes green, Smithtown High School West.
I'm Jessica Jaworski.
I'm Erica Hinson.
And I'm May Logan. I participated in beach cleanups for 2 years and found mostly plastic. I also made and assisted in PSAs to encourage beach cleaning and less use of plastics. Trash people leave behind can kill lambers and marine life, and it's just ugly.
Okay, so when Bailey told us how much plastic she was finding on her beach cleanups, we all pitched in to create this PSA where we taught our school mascot, the bull, a thing or two about single-use plastics in our storm drains.
I can't wait to see our storm drain before we go to the Nesquag River to canoe.
Yeah, I can't wait to show you. Oh, look, there's the mascot.
Wait, what's he doing?
Whoa! What are you doing? Don't you know that only water should go down the drain, not plastic water bottles? Everything that goes down these storm drains head out to the waters, first the rivers and then the sounds, and that can negatively affect the marine life there.
Also, plastic, like this water bottle, doesn't go away. It turns into microplastics, which are small pieces of plastic debris that stay in the environment.
Did you know the University of Connecticut has estimated 5,000 microfibers of plastic in the Long Island Sound? Now that's a lot of plastic.
What can we do about it? First of all, don't throw stuff like this in our storm drains. Recycle!
And use reusable items such as reusable water bottles.
And if you must use that kind of stuff, make sure to use paper bags and reusable straws.
Okay, Rocky Point, you're on. Eco-friendly marketing study. Olivia, Michael, Sean, Skyla, Sandra, and Aluda.
All right, so my project is on reusable water bottles and cleaning up the Long Island Sound. All right, so the purpose of my project is to increase the use of reusable water bottles, decrease the amount of pollution in the water, and determine why people would still use one-use plastic water bottles. All right, so our methods is using Google Forms. We sent out surveys to the students of Rocky Point High School to determine if they would be suitable for the test group. Students who were not already using eco-friendly bottles were the target of the group. Some question examples were the age, name, and grade, if they already use a reusable water bottle, how often they used one, and if they'd like to be included in the experiment. Metal bottles were chosen based on student feedback, and they had a magnetic flip lid and were 25 ounces. 151 responses to the survey, and 30 participants were chosen for the experiment. Water bottles were given to chosen participants, and a post-survey in Google Forms was given at a week and a half after the start date. Some question examples of the survey that was given out after were, did you like the water bottle? Would you continue to use it? And please list any positive or negative reactions. There only 16 people responded to the form after, and the responses were mainly positive, and the only issue being the size of the bottle.
Eco-friendly shampoo brush trial by Elias Serrano and Olivia Curtin. Products that we use in our daily life include many plastics that are unsafe for our environment. Eco-friendly products contribute to the solution of solving pollution. However, we find that many individuals cannot obtain these products for numerous reasons. To test this theory, we asked individuals their thoughts about eco-friendly products. For the eco-friendly research, we chose shampoo bars to see if people would prefer shampoo bars over liquid shampoo in a plastic bottle.
So this is the pre-survey form. So on the top, you could see that we asked students in our high school if they've ever used shampoo bars, and most of them said no, so that was really beneficial for us. And then At the bottom, we asked if it would be reliable for all hair types. And as you could see, it was very like close in like percentage. So that's very like important for us to test this theory to make sure that like everybody can use it. And then after this, we did another survey after everybody used this product. So it was basically a tie for if it was beneficial for your hair type. And then for if the product was useful and long lasting, mostly everybody said yes.
Hello, my name's Sky. My name's Skylar, and me and my partner, who is sadly not here, did a study on eco-friendly pens and pencils. The study was conducted to test and study if people would use eco-friendly pens and pencils in equivalent to non-reusable pens and pencils to eliminate pollution. These were them. I have actually both with me. The pens were made out of cork wood, which is recyclable, from leftovers, like from when people cut down trees, cork wood is usually put to the side because people see it's useless, but it was useful for the pens. And the pencils I have right here are made from newspapers with the lead inside. So instead of using trees to excessively make wood stuff, we used newspapers. Now, our focus group was our whole high school, so that's all the grades on there. I'm sorry. And our hypothesis was if given accessibility, that high school students would use the pens and pencils, would be more likely to use them.
Smithtown, Do Just One Thing by Emily, Eve, and Gabriella. So we did not.
Hi everyone, I'm Eve, I'm from Smithtown West. Today I'm here to tell you guys how I was able to make a difference in my community. I wanted to ask you guys today, what is one thing that you can do, small or big, to make a difference in your community? At first I didn't know what I was able to do, but through working with my boss at my job, I was able to make a big change. I work at Mickey's Ice Cream in St. James, which is only 4.2 miles away from the Smithtown Bay, which is just a 9-minute drive if you hit the 2 lights in between. And oftentimes people get ice cream and they'll go to the bay and they'll sit and watch the sunset, but they'll leave their spoons and their cups and all their stuff behind at the beach. When we first opened our shop, everything was really new to us because it was a family-run business, so we had no idea what we were doing. Seemingly, making ice cream doesn't seem like that difficult of a job. But we quickly learned that with putting toppings on and making milkshakes, we used a lot more plastic than we ever expected. We started off by using plastic spoons in all of our toppings to add on to everyone's ice cream, and at the end of every shift or every use, we would just be throwing out tons and tons of spoons. So I was able to talk to my boss, that's Brendan, and I asked him how much money we were spending on all the spoons we were throwing out. And when we actually broke down the numbers and looked at it, we were spending tons of money on spoons just to put it in the garbage. I was lucky enough to be able to talk to both my teacher, Miss Williams, and my boss and see what is there that we can do to avoid this cost and this waste. So I asked him, I was like, is there any way we could invest in metal spoons to use for the toppings? And I volunteered my time to stay after the extra 10 minutes just to wash the spoons and get rid of the metal cups and stuff. And we were able to get metal spoons for the toppings, metal spoons for the milkshake cups, and invest in metal cups for our milkshake machine so we weren't wasting all the plastic.
Next we have up Only Rain Down the Drain. Where are you guys? Come on down. And that's Smithtown, Nick, Liliana, and Jessica.
Hello, my name is Nick.
Hi, I'm Liliana. And I'm Jessica Pilo, and we are from Smithtown High School West, Marine Science class. Prepare to better understand our connection to clean waters. We learned a lot from our teachers, Miss Williams and Mr. Needles, and guest speakers like Miss Murphy from CCE, trips to our local water, and local environmental artist Susan Baroker. How to express ourselves and let people know that we are all part of the clean water solution. Here we are cleaning and painting the storm drain at our middle school, identifying species who are sensitive to plastic pollution at Sunken Meadow and Jones Beach Energy and Nature Center. We also were honored to learn from the hosts and scientists and other students by participating in the first Long Island Sound High School Summit.
Okay, last in this category, we have up Brentwood for the first time today. A call to action using social media and podcasting to engage students in water quality issues impacting Long Island Sound. Juan and Joshua?
Good morning, everyone. I'm Juan Carlos Delgado, and this is my fellow host,
Joshua Castellanos.
And podcasting was years ago considered to be a dying industry. But now, monthly, half of Americans listen to podcasts. And we are hosts from Brentwood High School of the Let's Science That podcast and the Classrooms to Career podcast. Now, Let's Science That was made, and Classrooms to Careers, in the pandemic. Now, our goal was to not only connect the sciences to our schools, but also the several careers and backgrounds of people to all of our communities of Long Island. Now here's our setup. We use Anchor to get a free RSS feed. It's simple to use, and we have several huge major distribution apps, which more on later. We use OBS and Audacity, which are free programs that allow us to really, minimize our budget costs. Google Meets and Teams is also really helpful, yeah.
Hello, my name is Angel Hendricks. I am from Brentwood High School, and these are my colleagues.
Hi, I'm Gisela Guevara. Hey, I'm Farida Ali.
And we decided to do our research on COVID-19 and mass pollution on the Long Island Sound ecosystem. We decided to do this because since COVID-19, there has been an increase of mass because we all want to get protected. No one wants to get the virus, obviously. So for this, we wanted to see, because there's a wrong disposal of mass, would it affect ocean animals? And we want to do on the sound because we want to keep the sound as healthy as possible.
First up under this one also, we have Brentwood again. Brentwood, we're going to hear the impact of nitrogen loading on filtration, basal thread, and plaque formation in the ribbed mussels. Alicia and Araba, come on up.
Good morning. My name is Alicia Hassan.
And I'm Ariba Farouk. We're from Brentwood High School.
And our project was about assessing the effects of eutrophication on filtration and byssus formation in the Guernsey de Mesa mussel.
So one of the major issues in the Long Island Sound and the waters in the surrounding area is the level of nitrate. There's been a rise in the levels of nitrogen. The graph here shows the years from 2012 to 2020 and the levels of nitrogen in the water. There was a decrease in the level of nitrate in the water in 2016, as you can see on the graph, because of the efforts that were used to decrease it, but there was again an increase in 2018.
So the marine organism that we used for our study was Guernsey de Mesa, and it's a species of mussel that's native to the Long Island Sound. Marshes and shorelines, they're crucial to the marshes because they help build up sediment and they filter out nutrients and pollutants in the water, nitrogen being a major one. A study done by Andrew D. et al. In 2020 shows that Long Island Sound marshes are vital to marine life as well as protecting the sound from other harm. So in conclusion of our project, our study showed that as the nitrogen pollution increases in the Long Island Sound, it does negatively impact the mussel Guernsey de Mesa. And we saw that the higher rates of the nitrate there were, it took a lot longer for the mussels to filter and it stressed them out a lot more.
So Yeah, so the same thing with the Bissell threads was that they got a lot thinner, and like in the marshes, that would be an issue since they use their Bissell threads to attach to the sediments in that area, and so to like anchor themselves and to be able to properly filter. So the increase in nitrate would affect pretty much how they filter and only leave more pollutants in the water. Thank you.
Great job, you guys. Thank you. Next up, Northport E-Team, Long Island Sound Water Quality Analysis, cesspools versus treated sewage. Isabella, Colleen, Daniel, John, Emily, and Katerina.
So I'm Isabella. Oh, we're doing this. I'm Colleen.
I'm Dan.
I'm Emily.
I'm Katerina. And this is the Long Island Sound Water Quality Analysis, cesspools versus treated sewage. So we studied both Scudder Beach and Price's Bend. Scudder is near a sewage facility, while Price's Bend is surrounded by septic tanks. We believe that the area with septic tanks would have a higher nitrate level.
So these are our two locations. The one on the left is Price's Bend, and this is a bird's eye view of it. And then the one on the right is Scudder Park, or Scudder Beach, and then there's another picture of it down below.
Our procedure, in order to complete our data collection, we specifically tested temperature, pH, dissolved oxygen, nitrates using the Lamont Estuarine test kit. We kept a weather log as well to explain certain trends in temperature. We collected over a period of 5 weeks around 4 p.m. throughout March and April.
And the reason we did this project and this study was because if there's an excess of nitrogen in the Long Island Sound, it can cause something called eutrophication, which would basically get rid of all the oxygen that marine animals need in order to survive in this environment. So if our group wanted to continue our study in the future, an easier way to do this would be to do it in different seasons, because we did it just between March and April, so we didn't have a wide variety of temperatures that we saw. And we could also spread out to new locations, maybe not just Scudder and Price's Bend, and open it up to different neighborhoods and different areas that are controlled by septic tanks.
Next, we got Brentwood up again. Brentwood will be doing the impacts of eutrophication on Long Island Sound water quality.
Hi, my name is Ariana Pardina. And I'm Paola Diaz. And we are from Brentwood High School. Today, we will be assessing the impacts of eutrophication on Long Island water quality. More specifically, does the fact that a town is sewered affect the levels of nitrogen and phosphorus in the open water?
Okay, so the Long Island Sound annually suffers from low dissolved oxygen and nutrient pollution, such as sewage treatment plants, septic system, atmospheric deposition, fertilizer, and animal waste. We've also found that algal blooms cause toxins in the Long Island Sound that produce a lot of nitrogen and phosphorus, making it unsafe for consumption. We went to Great Neck and Sunken Meadow to collect our data, and for Sunken Meadow, we went to the bay and the creek. And we used water bottles to collect our samples of water. And when we got back to the lab, we used a chlorometer to measure the amount of phosphorus and nitrogen from each of our samples. When we went to the beach, it was actually really windy. And you know when little kids like go to the beach and they run up to the shore and then they like try to touch the water and then the shore comes back in, and then you run away like super fast? That was literally us the whole time. Okay, so the reason for our research is we're trying to find a how and why septic systems and cesspools affect our bodies of water. There you can see on the top bar on the Long Island Sound that there are blue areas. That's high hypoxia, which means that there is low levels of oxygen. We have also found that there are a lot of algal blooms and tides that have been found in the North Shore and the Southeast Shore of Long Island.
Oyster Bay is in the house. The chemical composition of water in storm drains, outflow, and the bay, and I'm told that's being combined with where is our water coming from. So this will be one large presentation.
I'm Mara Ashatino.
I'm Dylan Sitar.
I'm Jaya Chetram.
I'm Deanna Bassart.
I'm Anya Kelly.
And I'm Will Noble.
And today we're representing Oyster Bay High School regarding our research on the Long Island Sound, which, as you should all know, is an estuary where salt water from the ocean mixes with fresh water, from rivers draining from the land. Our coastal communities are also home to more than 4 million people who rely on the sound for many things.
Some of these things include enabling the industry of fishing as well as recreational activities such as water sports. The sound provides many educational opportunities about preservation and also is a source of economic stability for the island.
All of this depends on the quality of our water, habitats, and resources. Long Island Sound is among the most important and valuable estuaries in the nation. In 1987, Congress designated Long Island Sound an estuary of national significance. To this end, our research teams have focused on 2 areas of study.
Our research consisted of testing the chemical properties of different points in the bay in order to determine the human sources that may be included in storm drain outfall.
We tested 8 spots throughout the bay as pictured in this map, and all of our samples were collected by Friends of the Bay at a depth of 1 meter.
Smithtown has eutrophication, and we have Abigail, Vanessa, and Nadia.
Hi, I'm Nadia Matthew.
I'm Vanessa Matthew.
And I'm Abigail Rust. We are juniors at Smithtown High School West, and this is our presentation on eutrophication.
To give some background, eutrophication occurs through excess nutrient loading, typically of nitrogen and phosphorus. Nitrogen pollution has been the most prevalent in Long Island Sound. Eutrophication occurs naturally, but greater urbanization, industrialization, and agricultural production have greatly heightened this process. Sources of pollution include farming byproducts, industrial effluent, and atmospheric deposition.
Climate change is also a factor in eutrophication. Warmer temperatures lead to warmer waters, and some algal species thrive in warmer waters, leading to a proliferation of a potentially harmful species. As shown on the map, many watershed regions flow into the Long Island Sound, with New York City being the most prominent one. Although nitrogen reduction has been attempted, increasing population and pollution in these watershed areas continue to pose a hazard to the Sound's health. Some effects of eutrophication are aquatic hypoxia and anoxia. This occurs as sunlight cannot reach below the surface of the water because of the blooms, and this leads to oxygen depletion within the water, killing organisms and plants.
Time to throw out these old meds. Stop. Ugh, I don't want to pick up this dog poo. Stop.
Time to put on my monthly fertilizer.
Stop. Why do I have to stop doing all this? The things you do every day are contributing to eutrophication.
What's eutrophication?
So glad you asked. Eutrophication is the process by which a body of water becomes progressively polluted with excess nutrients, such as nitrogen and phosphorus. Let me show you an example.
Eutrophication may be occurring on your local body of water. Eutrophication can cause harmful algal blooms that emit toxins into the air. They can be consumed by animals, and they severely disturb ecosystems. Let's protect our local bodies of water.
You can stop eutrophication!
Remember, what goes down these drains will go down into our sound. So, be mindful of your actions because
you can stop eutrophication.
A closer look. This is the very long name. Okay, closer look, the use of scanning electron microscopy to understand the effects of increased nitrogen levels on the formation of abscesses and plaques on the ribbed muscles. It rolls right off your tongue.
Hello everyone, my name is Andrew Whittingham and these are my colleagues Sebastian, Jennifer, Aiden, Omar, and Tristan. Our experiment focuses on the question of what is the effect of nitrate upon muscle abscess and plaque, with Long Island Sound being our focus. Now, Long Island Sound is full of salt marshes. Zilder 2018 states that salt marshes are an accumulation of fine sediments on sheltered shorelines, and Vernberg 1993 states that salt marshes provide habitats for many species, assist in flood and erosion control, and filter pollutants, improving water quality. Now, salt marshes and coastal ecosystems worldwide are currently afflicted with eutrophication. Burkholder 2007 states that eutrophication is the over-enrichment of nutrients in water bodies and coastal waters degrading many coastal water environments and collapsing biodiversity.
Our study species was the Glucansia demesia, also known as the red mussel. It's a filter feeder commonly found in salt marshes and the Long Island Sound, which is very essential to the ecosystems there as it produces sediment and creates a poly-like fiber called byssus from its byssal gland, which allows it to attach itself to rocks or cord grasses that are common around there. Some of the cord grasses are invasive, but generally the Glucansia demesia keeps everything in check. However, with all the pollution going around, they're not being as effective as they used to be.
Next up, Riverhead. And Riverhead has a very succinct title, Water Quality in Long Island Sound. Come on up. We have James, Wesley, Marilyn, and Jasmine.
Water testing in the Long Island Sound. So we started off by 4 different locations along the eastern Long Island Sound section, central Long Island Sound, and even right here in Port Jefferson we took samples from. So we started off, our goal, provide accurate information about the water quality in Long Island Sound so we could focus on areas that are struggling in water parameters and maintain areas that are doing really well and that are thriving at the moment. All right.
One of the things we tested was low-range phosphate. Phosphorus tends to come from water runoff, but serves as a chemical element for the growth of plants. Eutrophication is a negative effect that comes with higher levels of phosphate in water. So then if there's high levels of phosphorus, that would damage the water where it would harm the plants. For the testing of phosphate at ppm, we found that the levels were at regular amounts, between 0 to 0.2 ppm. We were testing at Roanoke, Iron Pier, Mattituck Inlet, and Port Jefferson, and they had very regular amounts, and even range showing that phosphorus is not a great pollutant to the beaches.
What we can do. So, sewer systems rather than septic systems. So making sure that water treatments in our waste plans are up to date. So a lot of septic systems that aren't treated, the water that returns back into the sound isn't necessarily safe for the life in it. So, beach cleanups and simply picking up garbage that you see while walking on the beach, a little goes a long way, and persistency is key. We all need to act together, and that's the only way that we're going to maintain the sound. So,
Rocky Point, you're up next. Runoff rates of the Rocky Point High School, middle school campuses, and Rocky Point rain garden proposal. We haven't heard anything about rain gardens yet today, so this is good.
I'm Ethan.
I'm Mia.
I'm Will. And I'm Ohm.
So we basically, we're trying to get a rain garden at the Rocky Point School. So why a rain garden is beneficial to the environment. The rain garden will improve overall mood and environment sustainability in a cost-effective way. Fertilizers can contaminate with the rain and reach out water supplies by flowing off man-made surfaces located on the school property. So these fertilizers, it can kill fish, cause algae blooms, and contaminate drinking water. A rain garden would provide a filter for these substances and make a healthier ecosystem for the school and the entire town of Rocky Point. So why is a rain garden needed in Rocky Point? The rain garden could affect the facility positively via way of means of decreasing storm runoff and reducing the threat of any floods. Rain gardens can also refill groundwater and decrease common pollutants and flooding during heavy rainfall. The rain garden can even offer food and protect for wildlife and crucial pollinators like bees and butterflies.
So our rain garden is 264 feet squared. If you think of a 1 by 1 tile, it's a 10 by 20.
and it's a depth of 12 inches. We will use 4 shrubs of 3 types, and which will make 12. And this will roughly take up 132 feet squared. The other remaining space will be used for 60 flowers, 4 different species, and this will be the maximum number of flowers we can have in the remaining area. Both the flowers and the shrubs are perennial plants, which means they bloom, they come back and bloom, and they last for multiple years. This also, this requires low maintenance, and money is not required for new plants, and we don't have to keep replanting them. And 0.3 yards square cubed of mulch was used.
Comac, adopt a rain, I'm still rain garden, sorry about that. Adopt a storm drain project from the Environmental Action Club. I like that name.
Hi, so I'm Flora Lynn, and I'm the Vice President of Comax High School's Environmental Action Club.
I'm Joji Domenico.
And we're here to discuss Comac's Storm Drain Project. So we began our project in April, and the reason we started this is because storm sewer water often travels to local waterways without being cleaned, and this often carries trash, soil, and other pollutants to the Long Island Sound. And we worked with the local environmental artist, Susan Baroker, who's with us here today, and to use storm drains as a canvas to raise awareness about stormwater pollution through art. And we had a few meetings throughout the month, and this was in collaboration with both the Environmental Action Club as well as students of the IB Environmental's Systems and Societies class. So to aid with our storm drain art project, we all adopted storm drains around us and in our neighborhoods. And using a link and QR code Ms. Suddy provided, we entered our data, and this was consistently done in the months of mid-April and the month of May.
The Environmental Action Club began brainstorming slogans such as "Don't be mean, keep the drain clean," and "Respect the drain." But we ended up agreeing upon "all hands in" because it sends our message effectively that locally we need all hands in. Okay.
We're on to our very last 3 projects and the Northport video. But also for the groups that came in late, like Brentwood and I think Oyster Bay, make sure you, in that green bag, I just don't want you to think it's all like just educational material, but there are tickets to the planetarium and to the Stony Brook Museum, so please don't toss them out. They have value. Okay, you ready? 3 more. And we're going to give these last 3 our fullest attention because they were so patient and kind to wait. We're going to start with Brentwood, evaluating salt marsh restoration at Sunken Meadow State Park, which has the Nissequogue River. Oh, look, they're like, oh my God, I didn't know this was in there, right? Good thing I mentioned it again. You're welcome. Okay, Brentwood, you're up. Ricardo.
Hello, everybody. So my project is on evaluating salt marsh restoration at Sunken Meadow State Park through the analysis of sediment loss and accretion. And I promise you this title will get easier to understand as I go through. And yeah, so let me begin by explaining what salt marshes are. And salt marshes are coastal wetlands that are typically found near our shorelines. And they provide a multitude of benefits to our estuarine ecosystems and our environment, which include protecting our shorelines from erosion, buffering storm surges, providing habitats for marine organisms, filtering water, and most importantly, mitigating global warming, as they have the ability to take carbon from the atmosphere and store it into their soil.
Smithtown, using plants to help solve nitrogen pollution crisis. Come on up, Brett, Haley, and Rian.
Hi, my name is Haley Hemrick.
I'm Brett Carnival.
And I'm Rehan Mian.
We're from Smithtown High School West, and this is our project on exploring the ability of Lemna Minor to decrease nitrogen pollution. One glaring effect of nitrogen pollution is the prevalence of harmful algal blooms, which are characterized by the presence of toxin-producing microorganisms such as cyanobacteria, dinoflagellates, and diatoms. The presence of these harmful algal blooms can cause water to appear atypical,
such as having a blue, green, red, or brown tint, or having a foam, scum, or paint-like substance to it.
Climate change is a known serious issue, and it affects the water cycle, and fertilizer runoff is a serious consequence because it contaminates our sound. Both phosphorus and nitrogen are the most common forms of nutrient runoff that lead to algae proliferation.
Now, in order for nitrogen to have such an effect on the environment, it must be in the form of a soluble material. This results in nitrogen pollution occurring through nitrates, ammonia, nitrites, and urea. And the Long Island Sound, with that familiar graph on the right, experiences a variety of different sources of nitrogen pollution. And we focus primarily on nitrates because that is a common product of fertilizer runoff into the Long Island Sound. So the main takeaway is that bioremediation is a viable solution in helping decrease the concentration of nitrate in the Long Island Sound. But keep in mind that is not the only solution in decreasing the concentration of nitrate. There are a multitude of other ways in remediating our environment. And it's also important to note that the Suffolk County SWP and LINAP have both addressed the issue but not have entirely solved the issue.
Northport, you're up. Northport will be talking about the comparative state of salt marshes.
I'm Skyla.
I'm Percy.
I'm Justine.
I'm Devontae.
And this is the comparative state of salt marshes, Crab Meadow versus Makoma Preserve. So we collected data during the months of March, April, and the beginning of May to hopefully find and isolate factors that have led to a population boom of invasive species in our salt marshes, such as Phragmites. Focusing on Crab Meadow and Makoma Nature Preserve, we compared them in the hopes that we could either identify or isolate the factors causing the increase, or to help identify them in the future.
So this is just a map of Crab Meadow and Makoma, and it's just an aerial view of them. And then, so we took water quality samples for Crab Meadow, which is this chart, this graph right here, and then the next one is the Makoma water quality graph, and then the next one is the soil qualities for both Makoma and Crab Meadow. What we basically did was we just took soil and water quality samples from both salt marshes, and we tested the levels for all phosphorus, dissolved oxygen, and nitrogen. That's for the soil. That's for the soil. Okay.
And our final presentation, thank you for your patience, Roberto, for being last. Let's give him applause for being last. That's hard. Okay, so Roberto is going to speak to us about evaluating Phragmites at Sunken Meadow State Park and assessing its effect on carbon sequestration, the nitrogen cycle, and sediment biota. That's all, just those little things.
So first off, I just want to say thank you so much for Dr. Grella, my mentor. She really has guided me through this whole project. And this project has really opened up so many doors for me. Research is so important. I mean, I was a Regeneron finalist because of this project, and now I'm going to Colorado to feature this project. And I'm just glad that everyone here has a passion in the environment, in the oceans, and it's just incredible to me, like see and meet people just like me with the same passions and same goals. So this is Sunken Meadow State Park. This is where I worked, and all this vegetation you see here is salt marshes. And what salt marshes are, they're basically coastal wetlands that surround coastal states and coastal areas as well, such as Long Island. And I bet you there's some salt marshes out here in this shore right here. And they possess two major abilities. One being that they're excellent sources of carbon sequestration. They take massive amounts of carbon from the atmosphere and store massive amounts of it into their soil faster than a forest can.
And this ultimately slows down global warming at amazing rates. And another amazing ability these salt marshes possess is their ability to prevent land erosion. Considering we're on Long Island, land erosion is extremely important, and it's our home. And they act as a buffer against harsh storm surges and harsh wave action, preventing land erosion. So, however, the problem is this. This is rack accumulation. I'll explain that. So there's an invasive plant species here in the United States called Phragmites australis. It's not native here, it's native in Europe. And what happens is this Phragmites australis plant species, when it sheds its leaves or die, it contributes to dead versions of itself called rack. And this rack accumulations ends up washing along a shore, smothering and killing most of the native salt marsh vegetation. And my project the reason I did this project was to see to what degree is this invasive species degrading our salt marshes and affecting our salt marshes' ability to not only prevent land erosion, but also slow down global warming. The way I talk about all these negative effects of Phragmites australis, but the way I found out to solve this solution is solve this problem is by using drone imaging and TGI indexing. Drone imaging, the image to the left is a drone image I took with the DJI Phantom 4 Pro drone, and it's where I worked. And the same image is put under a TGI index. TGI stands for Triangle Greenness Index and measures chlorophyll capacity. It picks up where the salt marsh is healthy and where the salt marsh is degrading, where there's brown vegetation, and that represents areas where the salt marsh is dying off. And so the blue, you can easily map out which areas of the salt marsh are degrading or injured, and you can easily plan how much material you need, how much of the material you need, and where exactly, pinpoint specifically, where the salt marsh is degrading. And just a basic conclusion is that an invasive species, an invasive plant species is not something you could just ignore. It's something that we need to take action with. And it's just, people walk by and it's, it's just a plant. The research, all this research was done to prove that this is not just a plant and that we need to get rid of it. And I'm working with around 3 parks using drone imaging and effectively monitoring their salt marsh and helping remove the rack and the invasive species. And thank you.
I do want to thank you for all your work. Hearing you guys gives me great hope for the future, that you all will be good stewards of the earth and protectors of our planet. And thank you again. We appreciate everything you're doing.